What's up, girls and guys? This is weird. I am in Studio 4 right now, and a lot of you are in homes across Raleigh. Some of you here at the church just because some homes aren't ready. But the thing is, right now we would typically be coming to church, at church, but we're not here. And so for some of us, this is different. This is weird. This is unique. But I feel like this is something that is going to be incredible. We are taking a next step into a journey God's called us to, pun intended. And so I'm just excited about what God's calling us to. Some of you watching on a TV, some of you might have an iPad out or your iPhone out, but whatever it is, you're watching this weird student pastor come to you in a video. But for some of you, change is hard and change is different. But over the next couple weeks, we're going to figure this out so we can really impact our city for Jesus. A lot of you know I have a daughter. Her name is Haven, and I love her to death. And one of the funniest things she does right now is in her playroom, we have this huge chair. And some of you might have a chair like this at your house. Maybe even the house you're at right now, you're sitting in this chair. It just sucks you in. It literally just pulls you in, and it's just like one of the best chairs to watch TV or movies from. Well, one day she asked me to put her in the chair, and so I put her up in the chair, and she kind of scooted back and then just fell back into it and just did, and I just started laughing, but then she started scooting closer to me, and she got to the edge, and so I was sitting on the ground, and I just kind of put my hands out, and I'm like, all right, come on, and she just looks at me, and she's sitting there because she's like, I don't know about this, like this is weird, like I'm not gonna jump off this chair. And so what she does is she looks at me and then scoots back and sits back and says, And I'm like, no, come on. So she scoots to the edge again. And then I look at her and I say, come on. And she just leans forward and starts grinning. And she literally falls off the chair. And of course I let her fall and then start laughing, and she's crying. No, I didn't let her fall. I caught her and like swung her up. And in the moment, her face was like, what's happening? But then she started to laugh, and then she started to say, again. And so for the next hour, I got the hardest arm workout I've ever had in my life of putting her up on the chair, her scooting to the edge, and then falling off. And so my point is this: sometimes in life, there's things that we get to the edge to and we're kind of uncertain of. We're scared of something new, something different. But God is asking us to just come, to take a step of faith and to try something new. And there's a passage in Scripture that I want to look at just for a brief moment, found in Matthew. And a lot of you might know this story. Some of you might not have heard it, but it's the story of Jesus, his disciples. They're on the water. And what happens is Jesus asks Peter to step out and to come onto the water where he's at. And so what I want you to do right now is I want you to pause this video. Someone pull up Matthew 14 on a Bible app, or if you have a Bible, open it up. Matthew 14, I want you to read verses 22 through 33. So go ahead and do that right now. All right, so you get the scene. So Jesus has just finished some ministry. He looks at his disciples, his best friends, and he says, all right, you hop in the boat and you go ahead and roll out. I'm going to stay here for a second. I'm going to pray a little bit, and then I'll join you on the other side. And so what happens is Jesus goes, he begins to pray to God, and the disciples roll out. And so Jesus takes note that the waves and the wind, they're kind of rough. And so what he does is, he does what any normal person would do. He gets an Uber boat. Sorry, that was really bad. Just forget that I said that. What he does something is just more logical. He just walks down on the water to the boat. That makes sense, right? So he just literally walks on the water to go out to his disciples who are a little frightened with what's happening. Just picture that for a second. Someone walking on water. That's crazy. I wish I could. I know I can't, because there's many times that I've hopped into a pool and just sunk and just gone to the beach and just walked into the waves, not on the water, into the water. But Jesus walks out onto the water, and he gets to the boat, and all his disciples are terrified. They think it's a ghost. And Jesus said, whoa, don't be afraid. It's me. And immediately Peter does something that is kind of ironic or kind of crazy to me. He says, well, if it's really you, tell me to come out to the water with you, right? And so Peter's asking Jesus to say, hey, if this is really you, I want to actually walk on the water. I want to do something that doesn't even make sense to me. I want to do something that's different and unique that I've never done before. And Jesus has simply one word for him, and it says, come. Jesus tells Peter to come, and what happens is we see this scene of Peter taking a step out into the water. Now just imagine for a second that you're Peter, and you have the courage enough to ask someone to say, hey, if you're really standing on water, tell me to come out, and I'm going to do it. And then the person says, come, and now you have that choice of, oh, he actually said it. Am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? And so what Peter does is he steps out and he begins to walk on water. Now just imagine that for a second. Imagine you're Peter and you step out of a boat onto water and you're literally standing on the water. Like, what would you do? Would you start like taking laps around the lake? Would you start like doing jumping jacks? Would you try to do something funny? Like, what would you do? Take a second right now, take 1 minute, and I want you to talk about it with the people in your room. All right, so some of you probably would run, some of you kind of freak out, some of you might jump back into the boat. I don't know what you would have done. All I would have done is probably exactly what Peter did. I would step out and then all of a sudden freak out and begin to take my eyes and my mind off what Jesus called me to do. Because it was something that I wasn't sure of. It was something that was new. It was something that was different. And so what happens is Peter steps out and he's on the water, and immediately what happens is he takes his focus, he takes his mind off what Jesus has called him to do. And he begins to notice things around him, the wind, the waves, the fact that he's standing on water, and he begins to get overwhelmed and freak out. And sometimes in life, I think that's you and me. We get called to do something by Jesus, and when we take that step, it's exciting, it's new, it's different, but we immediately get distracted by other things instead of focusing on what Jesus has called us to do. See, I believe as a student ministry, Jesus is calling us to step out of faith and to reach the city, to reach your friends for him, because Jesus is ultimately the hope that your friends are looking for. Jesus is what your friends are striving to seek after, what they're trying to find in drugs, what they're trying to find in relationships, why they're going through depression is because they don't have Jesus. But the cool thing is you and I do. And see, that's part of it. One of the reasons Peter was able to step out in faith was because of the relationship that he had with Jesus. He trusted him with his life. And so what I want you to do real quick, when I say that phrase, trusted him with his life, there might be people in your life currently that you would be like, man, that's someone I would trust. So I want you right now, if you're comfortable, take 1 minute, go around the room and say, tell your group, hey, who's one person in your life right now that you would trust with your life? Go for that. See, the reality is this: Jesus is asking all of us to take a step of faith. He's asking us to step into the unknown, and he's asking us to do something beyond ourselves. And so we get an awesome opportunity to join Jesus at what he's already doing. And so let me challenge you with this. When we take this step of faith, keep your focus on him. Ask him for help, because what happens in the story is Peter immediately takes his focus off Jesus. He begins to seek, but he cries out, "Lord, save me." And Jesus does something incredible. He immediately reaches out. He grabs Peter and he says, "Hey, why did you doubt me? Why did you doubt me? You know you can trust me. You know I've asked you to do something that I'm going to provide everything that you need for that." And so my challenge to you over the next few weeks as we prep for March 10th, as we launch to invite lost students to these environments, is for you to cry out to Jesus with any questions that you have. Ask him for strength to take a step of faith. And by doing so, I think God is going to call you to something greater than yourself, a purpose that you're searching for. And so I want you to say yes to Jesus, whatever that looks like. Because I know this, you can trust him. A few years ago, we did a video for our Instagram, and Erica walked around a conference and did some trust falls. And for the most part, everyone that she trust failed except for one random dude with a weird orange hat. But what we're asking you to do is this. We're asking you to trust Jesus. And here's the one thing I do know. We can trust him with everything. He's not going to fail us. But take a look at this video. Erica hits the ground pretty hard. It's pretty funny. Hope you guys have a great night as you jump into small groups.